We'll talk about it later. Okay, so mean value theorem for integrals. We have the integral from a to b of f of x dx, which represents a shaded region. The function has to be continuous in a, b. Well, there's also, if I pick a point C, this is going to be tricky to do. Whoops. Say this is point C. If I make a rectangle off of point C, so I take the height of point C, okay, all right? So that's f of c. I take some point on our interval, and I plug it into the function. That'll give me a height. Does everybody agree with that? Okay. And then I make a rectangle based on that height between A and B. This area contained within the yellow bit should equal the area under the curve. Okay? That's all it's saying, is that I can take some point C where I make a rectangle out of that, and the area of that rectangle will equal the area under this curve. And it kind of makes sense if I drew it better. It covers most of it. This bit's a bit extra, but we haven't covered that in the rectangle, so they should be the same. Does that make sense? That's all I'm saying. The area of the red equals the area of the green, or the yellow. Okay? That's really all it says.
Any point?
Well, it's a special point, right? Like I wouldn't pick point here because that height is going to make a rectangle that's like that, and I'm going to be missing all that stuff, right? But I'm not going to pick a point close to B, which would make a big rectangle, which is obviously going to be bigger than the area. So there's a special point that you can pick. That's all it's saying. And so the area of the yellow is the height times the width. What's the width? It's B minus A. That's the mean value theorem for integrals. That's all it says. If you want, area red equals area yellow. If you want to think of it that way. This is the mean value theorem for integrals. Okay? So the classic question is, if f of x is equal to root x minus 1, use the MVT, the mean value theorem, on the domain 1 to 10 to find C. MVT, mean value theorem. You say meat? Use the meat theorem to find C. Okay. So what's the first thing we ask ourselves, given your function? What does the function have to be? It has to be continuous. Is this function continuous on the interval 1 to 10? Yes, it is, right? Because it's a square root function. It's only it only doesn't exist if your x values are less than 1. Okay, so we're fine. So it's continuous. Okay, so what does the mean value theorem say? It says the integral from a to b, so from 1 to 10, of our function root x minus 1 dx equals f of c times b minus a. Our b and a are this. Does everybody understand what I just did? I basically just plugged everything into the formula, right? We ask ourselves, is the function continuous? It is. So then I go, okay, well, here's our function. So I put it into here. A and B is the domain, so 1 to 10. And it equals f of c. We're trying to figure out what this point is. And then b minus a is just 10 minus 1, which would be 9. So can you erase something for me? Just erase the 1. No, just go like that. Just do root x. Just erase the minus 1 because you don't know how to do the integral if it's x minus 1 yet. That's my fault. Sorry. So we're just going to call it x, root x. That's okay. Okay. So what's the antiderivative of root x? Yeah, so you rewrite it as a exponent, right? Times 9. Okay. X to the 3 over 2, divided by 3 over 2, which is just 2 over 3. Evaluated from 1 to 10, and that equals f of c times 9. Because it would normally be like,
oh, yeah, you just did that. Yeah.
I just did it quickly, because it would be x to the 3 halves divided by 3 halves, but then you flip the bottom fraction.
I feel like you've explained that wrong.
Well, just do the step then, right? Okay. Then we plug in 10. So I'm going to get 2, 10 to the 3 halves over 3 minus 2 to the 1 to the 3 halves. We can do decimals. Over 3. Could make it 9, but then we're really changing stuff. We can do it. I have no idea what the square root of 10 is. What's the square root of 10? Well, the 2 is the square root, right? And then you cube it.
So it's just 100.
You're square rooting the 10 first.
Does it matter what order you do?
No. But it's not going to be. Square root of 10 is 3.16 raised to the power of 3 is 31 times 2 divided by 3. 21.08. We'll just say that. The 1 is nice and easy because it's 2 over 3, right? That's why they always pick 1s and 0s, because they're easy. Okay. 2108 minus 20.42. We're just rounding to 2 decimals. Okay. Are you with me so far? Does that make sense so far? Okay. What do I do now? Divide by 9. 20.42 divided by 9. 2.27. Okay. So we get 2.27 is equal to f of c. What's our function? Square root x. So if I put c into the function, I get 2.27 is equal to square root of c. How do I find c? Square both sides. $5.14. So what that means, if we do the root of x, there's y is equal to the root of x, right? We did the area between 1 and 10. Okay, so we got this area. If we, at the value 5.14, that area, if I find 5.14, which is just past halfway, if I take that value and make a rectangle based on that height, that area of the white will equal the area of the crimson, if you will. Does that make sense? That's what we did. Okay. And it sort of makes sense if I drew my graph better, you'd see it. But you can kind of see that this would be equal to this. All right, if it was a better drawing graph.
You just multiply it by 9 now?
Sorry? Yeah, if you wanted the area, you could multiply it by 9. Yeah. All right. Are we okay with that? All right. Now, if you get asked for the average value of a function, this average value of the function is f of c. So the mean value theorem says f of x dx a to b is equal to f of c b minus a. If you divide off the b minus a, this formula is called the average value of a function. Okay? It basically means that this height, right, that height is called the average value. And that kind of makes sense. What it's saying is, here's all the values of the function, right? The average value, what we're calling the average value, is whatever the value of the c, the y value at x is equal to c on the function. Because that's all we did. Like in the above example, the average value is 2.27, right? Because that's when we have, the average value is, 2.27. Right? That's what f of c, we divided off to 9, which is the b minus a. So this height right here, 2.27, that would be called the average value. So this is the formula. All it is the mean value theorem dividing off the b minus a to here. So you get 1 over b minus a times the integral equals f of c. That's called the average value. That's it. So it's the exact same formula, just tweaked a little bit to be called something else. Okay? We okay with that? All right. I just got a couple questions I would like you to do. On page 288, we'll do one mean value theorem question. Let's do 47. And we'll do one average value. One average value. $51. Number 47 and 51, please.
More time.